How to crochet. We're going to learn how to crochet by forming a granny square, but first we need to know some basics. This is the yarn. The yarn that I'm using is 4-ply worsted weight yarn. I use 100% acrylic because it's nice and smooth. You'll be able to see your stitches being formed when you use a lighter color. I'm using Red Heart Super Saver yarn. It's a nice strong yarn. It doesn't fray as easily as some of the other lower cost brands. And worsted means that it's several strands of fiber twisted together. And in this case it's 4-ply, which means there's 4 little threads twisted together. If you can see here, there's 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and so when you buy these pull skeins, you draw the yarn from the center of the skein. It kind of keeps it from rolling all over the floor, and it doesn't tangle quite as easily as if you would bring it from the outside of the skein. And this is my crochet hook. There are 2 different types of crochet hook. This one has this type of hook on it, whereas this one has got a flat hook on it. It doesn't matter which one you use, whichever one you're more comfortable with. I'm going to be using the aluminum hook size J. For this size yarn, it's a real comfortable size to work with, and for our project that's what it's going to call for. Okay, so in the meantime I'm going to clip off that little spot that I frayed and get rid of it. Okay, now holding your hook, there are 2 different ways generally folks hold a hook. One is overhand like this, like when you're holding a soup spoon. The other one is holding it like a pencil. Whatever way you're more comfortable with, it doesn't matter. I hold it like this because when you use the long Afghan hooks, you pretty much have to hold your hook this way. But if you're more comfortable holding it this way, it's no big deal. Okay, another thing you need to know is tension. What you have to do is just like using a sewing machine. You're going to have to wind your thread through the machine to create tension. You're going to have to do something with your yarn so that it just doesn't flop around on you, okay? So when I do my tension, I have one way of doing it, but when I first learned, I wrapped my yarn around my finger several times like this, and then I crocheted. But I found that it was harder when I needed to get more yarn. I'd have to unwind it and then wind it back up again. When I do tension when I crochet, is I take my left hand with the palm side up, and I take the end of my yarn, leave maybe a 6-inch strand, and then I wrap around my pinky like that, around my pointer like that, and then I hold my yarn between my thumb and my middle finger like that, and that forms my tension. And this thread right here is where you'll be working. Okay, this is just a tension thread, so we don't use that one, we use this one here. Okay, when I make my first stitch, some folks will just take and make a little slip knot like that. But my problem is this knot here gets too tight for my purposes, so I'm going to show you how to make a first chain without making that slip knot. Okay? So you put your hook behind this thread and you pull it forward. And you take it and you twist it all the way around, and so you have just a twist right here. Okay? Okay, then you take and you grab a hold of that twist with your thumb and your middle finger. You yarn over your hook and you draw it through. Okay? Don't pull this thread, don't pull this one. We don't want it tight because we want to go back and when we make our ring, we're going to need to put our hook back through that first loop. So that's basically your first chain stitch, okay? So make a next chain stitch, we hold on to that loop, yarn over, and draw it through. It's 2 chains. Yarn over, draw through, yarn over, draw through. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 chains on the hook, okay? All right, now your pattern is going to say slip stitch to form a ring. When you do that, you're going to have to go back into this first chain stitch that you made and insert your hook. If you look carefully at your first chain, I'm going to pull up that top loop a little bit. You'll see a little twist right here, and you'll see where your tail comes through a twist. See that, how your tail goes through there? Well, you're going to insert your hook into that knot, or the same place where that tail goes through, right alongside the tail, okay? And then you're going to yarn it. You make sure your tail goes over your hook, first of all. Then you're going to yarn over your hook and draw it through that loop and under the tail and through the next loop. That's your slip stitch, and here is your ring. It's hard to see sometimes. You just kind of have to tug on your little stitches until you find that ring. See the hole? Okay, now in the next video, I'm going to show you how to do your first round on your granny square.